Greetings, YouTube! The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are going to be talking about the new spell, Cacophonic Shield from Forgotten Realms, Heroes of Faerun. I have not really seen this spell before, so it is relatively new. We're going to talk about the spell. We're going to give it a grade. We're going to talk about subclasses that go with it, and we're going to talk about the spell list that it is on, and if there's any other spells that might be better or might be worse. So, lots to go over, lots to talk about. Stay tuned, and don't go away. All right, before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or a comment. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, and don't forget to share this video. All right, it is called Cacophonic Shield, like cacophony, and it is a third level spell. It takes one action to cast. It has a range of self with a 10-foot emanation. Emanations, remember, are kind of new. It's a new term that we have in D&D 2024. Verbal and somatic components, no material component. It lasts for 10 minutes. This is a combat spell, so I'm not really sure if why it lasts for 10 minutes, but 10 minutes does mean if you are speed running rooms in a dungeon, that you could probably use this for a couple of combats, not just one. Typically, if spells have a duration of 1 minute, with concentration, you're going to use them for a combat, maybe two. But if they have a duration of 10 minutes, with concentration, of course, then you could be using them for at least two, maybe three, could be four. It is an evocation spell. It has a con save, which is not my favorite thing. It's thunder damage, which is great, because very few things are resistant to thunder damage. And it is on the Bard, Sorcerer, and Wizard spell lists. Okay, so thunderous reverberations fill a 10-foot emanation originating from you for the duration. Whenever the emanation enters a creature's space, and whenever a creature enters the emanation or ends its turn there, the creature makes a con save. On a failed save, it takes 3d6 thunder damage and has the deafen condition. And if you didn't know what the deafen condition does, we're going to put that up right here. Can't hear, and you automatically fail any ability checks that require hearing, like perception checks. It used to just be, it's the same thing. It didn't really used to be anything. So you get the deafen condition. It's probably one of the more worthless conditions, but it is 3d6 thunder damage and has the deafen condition until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, creature takes half as much damage. That's it. Creature makes this save only once per turn, not round, turn. So if you run away from them and they come back up to you, they will take the damage again, because they'll be moving on their turn. If they get pushed into you on somebody else's turn, they're going to take the damage again. So keep that in mind. This is kind of like an arcane version of Spirit Guardians. And it's not as much damage, but it has a few other things. So, when you cast the spell, so we're right here. When you cast the spell, you can designate creatures to be unaffected by it, which is great. So, like I said, it is kind of the arcane version of Spirit Guardian. So, in addition, you have resistance to thunder damage, and ranged attacks against you are made with disadvantage. And then we can cast this spell up for an extra d6 for every spell slot that we use above 3. So there's a couple of things to unpack in here, and there's a couple of things I really like about this spell. One, it is basically an automatic 3d6 damage every round on something. If you happen to be a tanky character who can use this spell, then you're going to be up front in martial melee combat, then it behooves you to have something like this on, and you can continuously do damage. In addition, because you're going to be up front and very tanky, ranged attack rolls are going to have disadvantage against you. So that is another great thing. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like the shield from Dune. Think of it that way. So they're going to have disadvantage, and you have resistance to thunder damage. There's not a lot that does thunder damage, so that's not that great. So what grade are we going to give this spell? So I'm going to give this one a solid B. I do like things that have effects that happen when something enters, or when it enters, or when the emanation enters its space, or they end their turn. So it's going to punish them for ending their turn there. Also, off turn, if they get pushed back into it, bad things are going to happen. And then you get the added extra advantage of having protection from ranged attacks. So I like that too. So we're going to give this one a solid B. Now, there's two different uses I can see for this. One is to keep enemies close so they continuously take this damage. The other one is to incentivize enemies to stay away from you. So more of a defensive use, where you put this up, you're off by yourself, you don't want any of those big bad tanky enemies to come near you, so you have this to disincentivize them from doing it. They're going to take a little bit of thunder damage, and if they stay next to you, they're going to continue to take that thunder damage, and then you've got some protection against ranged attacks. So that's a defensive. For the tanks, and that's why I put in the thumbnail, this is a good tank spell. You want to stay close to the enemy, so you might as well punish them, and you want to be protected from enemies that are far away so that you don't get hit with the ranged attacks as much. And this is all ranged attacks. It doesn't say ranged spell attacks. It doesn't say ranged melee attacks. It says ranged attack rolls, period, disadvantage. And then if you want to do more damage than you could, I don't think there's a lot of utility in upcasting this spell. So that is the spell itself. So let's take a look at the classes that can use this. And I'm going to suggest a subclass for each one, and we're going to look at the spell list. So the first one is the Bard. And of course, I'm going to suggest the College of Valor Bard, because these are the melee attackers in there. So you got your combat inspiration, you've got your defense. When a creature is hit by an attack roll, that creature can use its reaction to roll its bardic inspiration die, and you could do that for yourself. You've got your offense, you've got your martial training, your weapon is your spellcasting focus or foci, and you get an extra attack. And you can mix cantrips in with this, and guess what? Great cantrip, I think, that goes along with this particular spell is Booming Blade. So once they're boomed, they want to get away from you, or they want to stay near you, but they're going to be punished if they stay near you, and then they're boomed, so they're going to be punished if they leave. So I think and they kind of go together thematically and flavor-wise. They're both kind of sound effects, so I think they both go together well. Now, here is the list of Bard's third level spells. There's Cacophonic Shield right there. We got things like Catnap, Dispel Magic, Fear. These are good ones to have. If you're going to be that Bard that's kind of tanky and up close, I think this is a good one. There are quite a few pretty good third level spells for Bards, but I actually think this is one of the better ones for that particular build only. So then we have the Sorcerer. Now, there's not very many tanky builds for a Sorcerer. So I like Clockwork Sorcery, and I like Wild Magic Sorcery, and I would see that the Sorcerer would use these more as the defensive option, where they're incentivizing enemies to stay away. And it doesn't really go with any subclass per se, but it is there. And as far as other spells go on the list, there's Cacophonic Shield right there, but we have things like Counterspell, we've got Dispel Magic, we've got Erupting Earth, Fireball, Fear, Fly, Haste, all of these other kind of concentration spells. A lot of these are better, and they're not great for this build because the Sorcerer isn't really a tanky build. So I wouldn't, this kind of in the grading scheme goes down from there. And then lastly, we've got the wizard. And of course, I am going to suggest the blade singer, which is the new blade singer. And you've got your blade song, you've got your training in war and song, you've got your extra attack. So the blade singer may or may not want to be up close and personal, but if you're using things like booming blade with this, in addition to the cacophonic shield, again, you want to keep close to the enemy, and you're going to punish them if they stay close to you with the shield. And if they decide to move away, if you've hit them with booming blade, they're going to get boomed. So they're going to take extra damage no matter what. And then on the spell list, it is a concentration spell. Here is Cacophonic Shield right there. And we've got things like Bestow Curse and Counterspell and Dispel Magic and Erupting Earth. So there's a lot of pretty good spells. Erupting Earth is not a concentration spell, but we do have Fear, Fireball, Fly. So when you compare it to things like Fireball, it's do I take a spell slot up for Fireball or Cacophonic Shield? And do I want to concentrate on Haste or do I want to concentrate on Cacophonic Shield? And again, this is for very specific builds. Now, Haste is great for that blade singer, but Cacophonic Shield is also pretty good too. So, I would think about that. But there are, other spells in this list that I would really consider taking depending on the build that you're going to do. But I think I'm going to, at one point, make one of these blade singer builds. And I'm probably going to look at these types of spells to put in there and put on them that will punish enemies for staying close or punish enemies for getting away. All right, that is what I have for everybody today. I hope everybody enjoyed, and I will catch everybody later.